Okay, so Guild Wars 2 I've been playing a lot, and I've been playing a thief character. He's like a street rat, like I have this whole narrative. And I have to stop this gang. Now, this gang just stole poison to poison the higher-ups within the town to go and steal everything, because they're not going to be able to do anything. It's going to kill them. This poison's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
At the same time as they're trying to poison this stuff, now I've told the captain of the guards and everything, and they're like, listen, we're going to need your help, man. We're going to need your help to stop them. And they're like, well, hold on a second. They're after my friend, too. They've decided he's useless now because he was helping them at first, and now they're going to kill him. So now I got a choice. I either stop the poison from getting into the town, or I save my friend, not knowing what the end result's going to be. I chose to save my friend. So I saved my friend. Pretty difficult fight because the thing scales down, so I'm like, and that's a whole other conversation. But I finally get back with my friend to where we're finally going to take down this gang, and I'm listening to the NPCs talking, and it's like, I thought the guards are called the Seraph. I thought the Seraph was supposed to protect us. My father died drinking that water, and it's like other people are just like, they're sick as dogs, they can't keep anything down, or they died. And I'm just like...
Because you made that choice for your personal self,
I'm like, because I'm like, what would I do? They're like, both these decisions are terrible, and I'm like, I was rewatching a lot of Naruto, and I'm like remembering what Kakashi said in the first one. It's like, people who abandon the mission are terrible, and people who abandon their friends are worse. So I'm like, I'll save my friend.
Yeah, but then you need to live with the consequences of that.
Yeah. Because in the end, like, if you think about it,
in MMOs, I can't save
and go back. If the whole world functioned that way, what's the point of missions? In the end, it should be just you and your friend defending for yourselves, right? Like, if everyone in the world would be like that, and everything will fall into chaos.
Well, it's like, that's like when you think about it's the selfish versus the selfless.
Yeah.
That's why you kind of need characters of both, attributes to be in the world.
Like, character death in and of itself, and especially in mediums where, now, we can discuss to death how death works within the form of traditional narratives, books, movies, TV shows, all of that. But what happens when death is no longer an issue? And I'm talking about comic books here. When
Jean Grey.
The life model decoy.
The life model decoy, all of that stuff. Now, the thing is, even within the realm of comic books, we have had character deaths that meant something.
And then they come back and that meant something kind of goes away.
No, but even, if a character death has been done properly, even when they come back, things are different about them.
Captain America.
No, Batman when he came back before the new...
Sorry.
It's okay.
Rolling again in 3. Batman, when he came back, he was different. He launched the whole Batman Incorporated thing because he realized that, you know what, it's more than just one person. It needs to be something that's global and all of that. And then it moved on to the New 52, and all of that was thrown out the window. You have had certain characters that when they come back, they are different. Hal Jordan, when he was brought back to life, for a long while, he was a very sort of different character. He was far more subdued. He took things far more seriously than he used to. And then someone else started writing, and that all shifted. But you have character deaths that have had a great amount of meaning. Now, I'm not talking about Jean Grey, because Jean Grey you need to be a character before you can have a good character death, and Jean Grey was always a non-character.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, go back and watch the 90s X-Men series. More than half of her lines are just, Scott! When he gets shot. Alright?
That's like Kimberly, the Power Ranger.
Exactly.
Tommy!
They're just a non-character. But within Second Coming, the X-Men event Second Coming, you had 2 X-Men die in that. You had Cable sacrifice himself, and you had Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler, sacrifice himself. And this is the way that this is the difference between a good death and a poor death. Cable has a very bad death. Cable dies when he lets the techno-organic virus take over his body so he can hold his time portal open, I'm not making any of this up, and get his team back from the future to the present so they can try and save
they're going back to the future!
No, they're coming back from the future.
Coming back. That's the
back
sequel.
From the future.
That's the 4th movie.
Oh my god. Which is probably why it was so bad. But like no, you see like from panels ahead of time that he realizes that he's going to have to sacrifice himself, and he dies in front of Hope, and it's so artificial because he dies in front of the girl that he had raised, that was like a daughter to him, who saw him as the father figure, and that's the point that pushes her over the line. What we were talking about before, that look, that guy's going to die so that that guy has a reason to do this. It's a very poor death. And even though it looks nice, it's not well done. Now compare that to Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler doesn't know Hope. Hope doesn't know him. He's basically teleporting her and Rogue across the city, trying to get back to the island while Sentinels are trying to kill her. The Nimrod Sentinel Bastion cuts them off, nearly kills Rogue, is about to kill Hope, and Kurt, being absolutely exhausted from doing all these teleportations, not knowing this girl, teleports in front of him, ends up having... he teleports between them and rematerializes in the middle of Bastion's arm. So all you have is his arm sticking out of Nightcrawler's chest. He grabs Hope, prays to... just asks God for strength, and he teleports the last little way onto the island of Utopia, gets her behind and gets her 2 friendly lines, and then dies on the beach as she's weeping over him, saying, "Why did you do that?" That's a great death. That's a death that has a level of impact, because you didn't see it coming. It's done by a character who you wouldn't expect to do that. It isn't something that is expected of them.
The religious zealot?
He's not a religious zealot, but the thing is, you expect it from Cable, because he raised her, of course he would sacrifice himself for her. This is someone who doesn't know her, and simply for the sake of being a hero and protecting a life, he saves her at the cost of his own.
Yeah, no, that's good, but I was just gonna say...
And of course he's going to come back. He's already back, actually. An alternate universe version of him is currently working with X-Force.
See, I have a few issues with that. First of all, when a character comes back after so few times, and when you bring back characters so many times, and it happens so many times within the same medium, it loses impact regardless of how it happens.
Yeah, like if you watch Xena, she dies pretty much every season. Like, with the exception of like 1 or 2. And
like the first 2?
Yeah, after that you just kind of, you don't care as much when she dies. You're like, well, she's just going to come back.
At that point you're just taking bets on which afterlife she's going to.
Here's my other thing with that, and I'm going to use, like, this is why standalones to me for comics are always going to be better than the mainstream ones. Right. And I'm even going to use a mainstream standalone, Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
Characters don't come back in Old Man Logan.
No, and it was good.
No, character death, like, things were intense in that one, and even the flashback ones were intense, but when Hawkeye, spoiler alert, when Hawkeye dies, you went through this entire comic with Hawkeye helping out Logan. Logan wasn't doing much because he does not want to fight for what happened. I'm not going to spoil that one because that one's a great reveal.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he dies and he's gone, and like Logan now has to go off on his own. He managed to succeed, and you're like, yes! And then it comes back, and spoiler alert, his family's dead. And it's like, why? I had days left. He had to pay off the Hulks or something.
Yeah.
I had days left. And he's like, they did it for fun.
Yeah.
And well, actually, they did it for another reason, which you find out at the end.
Yeah. But that's the thing, and that's what finally drives him over.
And I would just like to say, that wasn't a death. That was really a death for the sake of being a death. I meant his family, more or less.
Yeah.
That was still impactful, more or less, because death...
Well, it radically changed his character from then on, because that was his whole point for doing everything to that point.
It kind of changed his character back, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, but you kind of fall in love with him as his own character in all that.
But here's my point. Death isn't just one particular thing. There are many contributing factors. One, you have to like the character. If I dislike a character, I don't care what happens to him. I'm just going to think he's a whiner every time he complains.
No one cared that Sentry died at the end of Siege.
No one cares about Anakin because he was such a whiner in the freaking prequel trilogy.
I know.
The second one, you have to, more or less, you have to understand his connection to the people that die around him. Hawkeye was one of the last of the Avengers.
Well, he was the last of the old guard.
He was. And they knew each other, and they were friends and everything. He was the last of a world. He was the last of essentially what he would consider his prosperous golden age.
Well, he meets with a couple of other characters from that sort of age, like Emma Frost. But Hawkeye is the last sort of uncorrupted part of that.
Yeah.
It was a very nice character design. I take your point that like when he dies, you're just wait, what?
But you also get the part. There's also a lot of it in the beginning with his family too.
Yes.
Where they talk to him about everything, and they're kind of watching him get beat up and at first.
And
but even their death was essentially his own little piece. Very. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Unforgiven with. Morgan Freeman and why am I forgetting his name? He's so popular.
Happens. Braveheart.
What? No. Cowboy. Why am I forgetting this? I'm gonna kick myself. Man with No Name. You're not gonna. You know what it is, and you'll help me.
No, I'm enjoying this.
You terrible. I just had like a major brain hiccup.
Keep going.
I'm gonna stop now. But you know what character I'm talking about. Why can't I? It's like on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, that was almost like the same thing. He was like this rogue who essentially found peace at last with his family, and then he's forced to go back, and then it turns into something else at the end. But it's kind of like that similar storyline where death has more of a meaning. Like when that guy, in that movie in Unforgiven, it's Unforgiven, right? It's the right title I'm thinking of. It's the Western.
Yeah.
Where Morgan Freeman dies. Spoiler, right?
I think it's interesting when you have death come. Like, I don't know if any of you read the Pratchett series, Discworld.
No.
So they did make 4 movies out of it. Samwise, the guy who plays Samwise Gamgee, does play one of the characters in these movies, and it's actually really interesting. Pratchett's version of death. In one of his books, they didn't make a movie of this one. They didn't have it, I don't think. Pretty much, death ends up like losing his job, and then he's gonna die, and then he ends up being a farmer. And it's so funny. It's just like one of those things that like quirky things that you just like. What the hell is happening? Like, and it's so. I love it when people like kind of twist things like that. Like Pratchett is so good with twisting things like that. I know we don't often talk about books, and it's kind of a shame because books are so important and whatnot. But
Well, it's hard to talk about books because there's so much content in one book.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to really pick out things, and then it's like, you don't want to spoil it, because almost anything you talk about from a book is a spoiler.
Exactly. Unless we actually started doing videos going, alright, you guys have 3 weeks, finish reading this book, then we're going to talk about it.
It's like it's hard to talk about books. There's a reason why we don't. I mean, manga's kind of like that thing, same with comics. It's not really a spoiler unless you're really telling them what happens, whereas books, they're so about their story.
Unless
you're talking about Twilight, which is not.
Or Waiting for Godot, which is not about the story. But
no, but that's the whole point of the book.
Yeah, it's such an awesome play.
Play.
Same thing with plays. Like, you can't really ruin a play. It's more about the spectacle.
Well, unless the play ruins itself. The Day Billy Lived. Well done.
Well, the thing with that is movies are the same way. I think the biggest difference just between books and movies is like movies have a span where it's okay to start spoiling them.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you hit a certain time, you assume everyone's already watched it.
Exactly.
But with books, it's not the same thing. You can read a book anytime. You know, it's still one of those things.
I have like 8 books I still need to read that I buy, and I know I want to read them, but I have such this threshold I have to get over to read them.
Anyway, I think we should wrap it up there.
So death, make sure that has a point, and we all actually, just before we wrap up, your favorite character deaths, any medium.
Oh shit.
Oh wow, way to put us on the spot.
I know, I can't just think of that.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I immediately thought of like Mordin and Thane in Mass Effect, but I'm sure there's a better one I can think of. So, I mean, right now I'd have to say, I'd have to think about that, but right now I'd have to say one of those two, between those two would be mine.
Alright.
Because I really felt for Mordin when I was like, oh no, I know what's happening and I don't want it to, but I can't stop it.
Actually, sorry, I guess I know we're wrapping up, but one of my favorite movies, it is my favorite movie that doesn't belong in a series, Risk Cutters: A Love Story. Which is not an emo movie. I have to keep telling people that. It's a romantic comedy. Pretty much everyone dies in the beginning of the movie, and it's about the afterlife, right? Where these people go who have killed themselves. And I really like that movie because it has these kind of quirks where you meet like these random characters who don't really have that big of a story in the movie, and then for a split second, you'll see how they kill themselves. Yeah. Like literally just a small story, and it tells so much about each individual character. And I love that. I love like using death in that way to like show character traits.
Actually, at the Toronto International Film Festival, there's a film coming out called The ABCs of Death, where it's 24 short clip. Like basically for each letter of the alphabet or something. I'm trying to remember the description. For every letter of the alphabet, there's a corresponding death that involves something that begins with that letter. And it goes through the entire alphabet. It's a whole bunch of directors. It was like a global thing. Where all of these directors did their own short films and everything.
That's interesting.
I really want to check that out.
That's actually like, there's this artist that she does video art, which is a lot different than film if you guys really want to look into the differences between video art and film. But there's this video artist who was looking into deaths in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And she did this really interesting like rebuilding of generic deaths in Hollywood and kind of like the formulaic versions of that.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of generic deaths, which is why it's nice to have one that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, my favorite death, what's his name in Memento?
Oh yeah.
The really annoying guy with the glasses and the mustache. I can't remember his name, but I just remember his death scene because it was so well done at the end of Memento. Because everything just, as soon as that happens, it was a marvelously done death scene. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Cool. Yes.
Seriously, no one else agreed? Oh, that hurts.
I never watched Memento.
Oh, I
so-
don't disagree. I think it was really well done, but
I haven't seen
Yeah.
it, so.
there's a lot I can say about Memento. It's really
I know about Memento. I know the concept of it, and it is brilliant what it tried to do.
Yeah.
It's not even what it tried to do, what it had done.
Oh,
And especially
like I said, I hadn't seen it, so I can't comment.
See,
on
I've
that.
read both the short that it's based off of and the actual movie, and the way it's so radically different.
Mhm.
And it's amazing how both of them are so good in their own context.
Yeah.
Actually, Risk Cutters is based off of a short story as well. And again, so radically different.
Anyways.
So yeah.
Yeah, we have to wrap this up. We went far too long.
Oh yes, we really did.
We're gonna wrap this up. Talk for 10 minutes longer.
Yes. That's what we do. People are probably already tuned out by now.
They probably stopped watching after the first 10 minutes, so we can say anything
Or
that we
even
like.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Alright, so
Boobies.
I'm Ernwin.
I'm Sam.
I always hated the Care Bears. A red herring like that you got was actually the very last Harry Potter film when you find out that Neville's the one that was meant to do everything. Because if you watch it closely, he beheads the snake, Voldemort starts losing that fight, but his skin starts to flake off, and then he's disarmed. Harry's spell wasn't meant to kill him, it was just meant to disarm him. So he's dying because Neville killed the snake. So Neville was actually always the chosen one.
Well, if you read the book, it's kind of like...
Well, in the books it's Harry, because Harry does kill Voldemort.
Well, it's that's a really, really big topic that we can't get into right now.
All right.
Sorry,
but that's like
That's
closer to
for
a red herring
Harry
that you
Potter.
run into in movies. But that being said, the death of a main character, or the ambiguity of the survival or not of a character at the end of films, has often made for very good films. I'm actually thinking of that Denzel Washington film, Man on Fire.
Oh. I was thinking 12 Monkeys. It was pretty good. That's not Denzel Washington, though.
Oh, Monkeys. I know which one you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes they add unnecessary deaths.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, well...
Well, there's deaths that are just like, it's so manipulative and it's just so forced to make you feel that emotion.
Yeah.
The
that you
biggest
don't
one,
end up feeling anything. You're just kind of like...
the biggest one would have to be